York Mets Nation, and welcome to the Bat Cave. I'm your host, the Bat Frie, Kenny Fry. I hope your Wednesday is treating you well. Hope day! What's up, everybody? Coming in here like a ball of fire, I guess, kind of. I'm a little bit tired. I hope everybody's doing well. Last night, the All-Star game, I got to see a little bit of it before I had to leave for work. The National League coming out with a win, first win in the last 9 tries. The American League's kind of owned them. And my one coworker who's an Atlanta Braves fan, he says, "Well, I guess that means that the Braves will have home field advantage in the World Series." Says, "Oh man, it makes you want to throw up." We got a comment already here. First one of the day. What's up? Schuylkill Unitarian Universalists. Up, Ken. What's up? Thanks for checking out the show. And then Eileen. Good morning, Eileen. Oh, there we go. Boston Red Sox Nation check in. Bubby Watts. What's going on? How you doing, Bubby? And Bubby also says, "Hello, Eileen." I'm all right. I'm not too bad. I don't know if you can tell, my eyes were a little bit puffy. Been struggling a little bit with the sleeping on the night shift here the last week. It goes. So I don't know. Maybe out there's ever worked night shift, but for me, it's always been like a roller coaster. There's times where I'll go weeks where I sleep pretty well. On night shift, I'll be able to go to bed like 9:30 in the morning and 10 o'clock at the latest. And then, I get a nice solid sleep till about 4:30 in the afternoon, and I feel great. But recently I've been struggling to sleep, and I wouldn't fall asleep until I think yesterday. I think it was 12:30. I just, flip flop. And then I actually wake up at 2:30 and I can't fall back to sleep. So it's been a struggle. So hopefully in the, next couple of weeks, or hopefully next week. I think this week's pretty much shot. But I hope next week maybe my sleep pattern gets on a little bit more on target, because I can't stand being tired and then not being able to sleep. It blows. And of course, whoever the Mr. Mahiko here, he knows all about that. He says, "What's up, Ken? I never sleep." He never sleeps. The man absolutely never sleeps. If he does, it's like a half hour, 45 minutes. That's scary. I don't know how he does. I don't know how he functions. Adam Glenn, he was a Schuylkill Unitarian Universalist or whatever the hell it is. The Schuylkill Unitarian Universalists. Man, I don't know what you got going on there, buddy. It's like a like from The Simpsons, the Stonecutters or something like that, or I can't think of what I'm trying to say right now. But yeah, it's like the Stonecutters from The Simpsons. Maybe is that what that is? Anybody that's a Simpsons fan out there knows what I'm talking about. The Stonecutters is one of the great all-time great Simpson episodes. No homers allowed. Anyway, so yes, we'll kick the show off here. So the Mets first half, of course, it's been well documented. If you watch the show, which most of you I'm sure have that are watching right now, it's been an absolute struggle. Ended okay. We had that 6-game win streak. Then we lose the last 2 to the Padres in uninspiring fashion, which was kind of a bummer after the 6-game win streak. You kind of hope that they put up more of a fight there at the end. Maybe go out. You didn't expect. I didn't expect them to sweep the Padres, because the Padres were coming in pretty hot as well. But you're kind of hoping maybe they come away with that series win. And it's something I preach on the show. It's not about win streaks; it's about series wins. Right now, when it gets down to the nitty gritty, the last month or so, maybe look for win streaks more there. But right now, where we're at, series wins, are more important. Building up series wins and building up wins that way, 2 out of 3s and stuff like that. It's a nice way to build up wins. It's a nice way to get consistent, and that's what they need to be focusing on. In my opinion, anyway. And we know my opinion is the opinion that counts right now. If you're watching the Batcave, it's the opinion that counts. Kodai Senga, last time I was live here last Wednesday, was not an All-Star, but he was named to the All-Star team. I'm not sure. I don't remember who it was that stepped out, either because they couldn't pitch or whatever it was. I don't think it was an injury. I think it was whoever's he replaced. I think pitched already, and they weren't going to be able to pitch in the All-Star game, so they replaced him with Kodai Senga. Which congrats to him. He's had a terrific first half of the season, and you look at Kodai Senga's numbers. I lost it. I had his numbers printed out. I'm like, I was gonna write them down. Like, no, I'll print them out. I'll use my awesome printer and stuff like that. I lost the paper. Anyway, you look at his first half numbers, and he had a pretty good first half. He was very steady. He was consistent. There was a couple games where he struggled, and it was mostly because of command. But he seemed to get that under control near the end of the first half. His last couple starts, pretty solid. Joe Sullivan, the Sully, checking in and said, "What up, Ken? Great show last night." Yeah, I had a lot of fun, Joe. I was very nervous going in. I don't want to shit the bed. I thought I did okay. You were awesome. Of course, you had all sorts of information and insights and stuff like that on the '86 Mets team, and leading up to it, and what happened afterwards. So, great job last night. You can check Sully out on Extra Innings on Tuesdays as well, and also on Mondays. I think it's 6 o'clock. You can check him out on the Sully Squad on Mondays, and 8:30 on Tuesdays with the Extra Innings show with Cowboy Dave. Adam says, "You think the Mets can make the playoffs?" There's still a chance, Adam, with the wild card. There's a lot of teams that are still in play that you wouldn't think are still in play. I think currently the Mets sit. I think it's 6.5 out, 7 out of the wild card, which isn't terrible considering as bad as they've played. I think they're 6 games under 500. So they're in it, but they don't have a whole lot of room for error. They have to play. They have to really have a really solid second half, and hope for some teams to slip up a little bit. And like I mentioned last week, I do think there are going to be a couple teams that will slip up. I don't see Arizona keeping up the pace that they're going at. I don't see the Marlins keeping up the pace that they're at. I do see Luis Ariz, continue to tear, continue to on his tear, pushing for 400. I think he currently is like hitting like 383 or in the 380s somewhere, which is insane. He's hovering around Tony Gwynn type numbers and stuff like that. But the way he's been playing this year, the way he's been spraying the ball around the field, Luis Ariz definitely has a chance to push for 400. I don't know how realistic it is, but I think he has a chance to make it interesting, which you haven't seen in a while. But yeah, I do think they have a legitimate chance. I think, and I've mentioned this before, and I get that hope. Hopefully, it's not false hope from the Phillies last year, where they were out, pretty good. They were out pretty far. 5-6 games around this same time, and they were able to make the playoffs. And they didn't do it by getting super streaky. They got hot a couple times, but then they'd go cold a little bit. So you don't have to go out there and win every game, but like I said, series wins are the most important thing, because you're not going out there to look to win every game. You're going out there looking to win every series, and build off of that. So yeah, I do think it's possible, and I think the next week and a half is going to tell a big part of that story. If they can't go on a nice little if they can't put on a nice little show against the Dodgers, and I'm not sure who they play after the Dodgers, but if they're not able to go out there and show that they can put together a couple series wins and push ahead in the wild card, it may be it might be sell time. If they go out there and shit the bed, lose 2 out of 3 to the Dodgers, lose 2 out of 3 in the next series, and the same thing with the series after that. And then if they continue to play like they did in June, let's put it that way, it's going to be a different story. Though I think the Mets will start selling pieces off, and it's not going to be good for some people. I mean, in the long run, sometimes that's necessary to sell pieces off to kind of rebuild your farm system, to maybe get rid of some bad contracts, so stuff like that. It's important to do sometimes. You just got to do it for the health of your franchise. Sully says Senga is going to be a star. I agree. I really like Senga early in the season. I was really skeptical, especially when that game he pitched out in Oakland, where the Mets ended up winning. Jesus, I don't know what the hell the score was. It was I feel like, I don't know, like it was like a 16-7 game or something like that. But I think the Athletics ended up having 17 walks. They've issued 17 walks, but Senga was pulled out in the 4th inning with basically a double-digit lead because he couldn't throw strikes. So I was really skeptical. I'm like, this dude is here just throwing ball after ball after ball. He can't find the zone. Is he a major league pitcher? Is he going to be the real deal? But then there's some glimpses where he'd go 6-7 innings. You only issue a walk or two, but high strikeout numbers, and it kind of gives you hope. And then his last I think his last 2 starts were absolutely fantastic. And the whole season his ERA has been in the mid 3s. So he's been very consistent. And like I said about his strikeout totals have been awesome. So I do think the Mets have as a star. A budding star there. I don't think he's going to be an ace. Like when you think of ace, you think of like a Verlander, in his prime, or a Scherzer, or like a Kershaw, guys like that. I don't think he's going to be like dominant like that, but I think he's going to be very, very good. Maybe like a 2, or he's a 3 right now, but I could see him pushing up to being a 2, and a guy that's on the fringe, like a fringe ace almost. So yeah. Thank you, sir. Like I said, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being on the show with you last night. The old school show is going to be fantastic moving forward. Talking 80s Cowboys or the 90s Cowboys. I think we were talking about the 93 Philadelphia Phillies. Maybe even the Jordan Bulls and stuff like that. So there's a whole lot of topics that you can go to with old school. I know I threw out there maybe doing a 70s Raiders show. That'd be a lot of fun, I think. Adam Glenn said, "Is Howard Johnson watching this show?" Adam, I'd love it if Howard Johnson, if Hojo was watching this show. I think it's if you guys are watching, don't know. I think it's really cool that Howard Johnson has been liking some of my posts on the Twitter box. And even commenting on some of them, which is absolutely insane to me. It's just one of the guys is my first favorite Met. Howard Johnson was, and for him to be posting or sharing, I said it's like it's one of the greatest things in my sports life. To have him just liking it. I think that's insane. I think that's fantastic, and I appreciate it so much. It makes me all giddy and makes me feel like a little kid again. It's fantastic. It would be awesome if he was watching the show and threw a comment up there, and I think I'd lose my crap here. I'd start squealing like a girl with the Beatles. Sully says the next 2 weeks is key. Keep playing well and maybe add at the deadline. Yeah, and I agree. I think that's a huge. The next 2 weeks, how they play is going to show a lot. If they continue to play like they did in June, well, you know what? It's sell time. And there's a lot of pieces that they can sell, maybe some surprising pieces that I'll get into a little bit. Brother John, what's up, Brother John? Fry Foundation in the house. The A's are going to turn their season around. The A's are not going to turn their season around. So I'm sorry to tell you, but you know what, John? The one thing is, I don't know if you've seen it before, but I've mentioned the A's kind of did they were able to pull off the scenario for Major League. You know, when the owner for the Cleveland Indians, Rachel, whatever her last name was, wanted to tank so bad that they'd have to, their attendance would fall below a certain threshold and they could move the team to Miami. Well, it didn't happen. They didn't expect, Ricky Vaughn or Pedro Serrano or Jake Taylor to resurrect his career. They didn't expect those guys to have great seasons. Willie Mays, Willie Mays Hayes, yeah. And Lou Brown is the coach. They didn't expect them to turn their season around and then, make a run at the pennant. But that's Hollywood, and this isn't Hollywood. So, the A's were really bad. But traditionally, the A's are not that bad. They're not perennial playoff. They're not a perennial playoff team, but they're a team that if you look at their history, the past 10, 15 years, not every season, but most of those seasons, they're in the playoffs. They're not making noise like, going to ALCSs or World Series, but they're in the playoffs. They're winning records, good teams, a good program. And it makes you wonder if they've kind of shit the bed this year to kind of, and somewhat last year to kind of say, hey, look, we have to get out of Oakland. They're not giving us a new stadium. There's no fan support here, which we know isn't true. The fan support is there because you saw that in the reverse boycott that they had, where the one game they almost sold it out, and they had a great showing, and then the next game, back to 3,000 to 5,000 people in the stadium, where you have in the upper deck, sexual activities going on. So, but I think the A's will, once they move to Las Vegas, I wouldn't be surprised if they go back to being that scrappy, low payroll type of team where, they scratch and claw, get wins, and, get into the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me at all. How long did Kodai sign for? Oh, Jesus Christmas. I want to say 5 years, 4 to 5 maybe. It's not a bad question. If you give me 1 second here, I'll look it up. I got my cell phone here, and it'll tell me all the information I need to know. Senga contract. All right, there we go. Kodai Senga, 5 years, 5 years, 75 mil. So he's tied up for a little bit for some time, and and I like his attitude too. I watch him out there when he's not doing well. He shows emotion. I don't want some foreign robot out there if they're not pitching well to kind of just go through the motions. He's out there. If he's struggling, he's showing the emotion. He wants to do well. He wants to compete, and he wants the team to do well. Like that last game against Arizona. I think he pitched against Arizona. I think it was. Fantastic game. I think he gave up one earned run in was it one? I think it was one earned run in 8 innings pitched. And he battled the whole game. He pitched fantastic. And he's up the top of the steps when Francisco Alvarez hits that go-ahead home run, or the tying home run, because I think it was 1-0 or something like that. Or 2-1. No, I think it was 1-0. And he was able to, Francisco Alvarez was able to hit that game-tying home run, and he's going nuts. And we were able to get a couple more hits for him and get the lead, where he was able to get that win, which he absolutely deserved. He pitched his ass off that night. I think he had, I want to say 12 strikeouts, but I could be wrong. But it's nice to see that he's tied up for a little bit. Eileen says, "Hiya, Bubby." Show was great. Thank you, Eileen. I appreciate that. Again, I'm very nervous about that. I don't want to, be the guy that brings the show down. But I feel like it went well. I'm gonna go back and rewatch it. and I kind of critique myself a little bit and see how I could have added more to Joe's information. I had all these notes and I got them all mixed up. I'm like, oh, God damn it. Because I forget so much. It's ridiculous. And usually if I write stuff down, I kind of, it helps me remember it more. But sometimes it's a struggle. Stacy, good morning, Stacy. How are you? You can check Stacy out on Mondays on the Big Blue Power Hour, talking New York Giants football. I believe that's on at 8 or 8:30. I'm not sure now. But it's on Mondays. She loves that movie. That's Major League. Brother John says they just pick up a former Mount Carmel player. I didn't see that. I wish I could remember his name too. For those of you who don't know, Mount Carmel's a local school to where we live here in the coal region. High school, I should say. We have a couple players from around the area in the system, in different systems in the minor leagues and stuff. Dan Hefner, what's up, Dan? Checking out the show. Thanks for your comment. The fact you have to say they are not that bad makes them that bad. Dan says also, oh no, not Moneyball again. And then that's what's it's gonna. If I'm Vegas, and I've mentioned this before, actually on my Vegas podcast, the Vegas Sports Scene on Saturday nights at 10 p.m. Myself and Rob Hefner, we've talked about it before. No relation to Dan Hefner. We've talked about with the A's moving to Las Vegas. Vegas should have said, okay, we're going to give you this awesome brand new stadium. Going to build it, retractable roof or whatever. I think it was. I think I said 30+ thousand seats or whatever it was. State of the art type stuff. If we're going to do this for you, taxpayers are going to pay this money. We expect you to spend this type of money and bring these type of players. And Vegas should have every right to say that to the Athletics ownership. And if not, then you know what? If I'm Las Vegas, I'd say go kick rocks, man. Because if you're not going to go out there and win and compete to win, you have to bring in some high-priced talent that might be not just a name, but I don't know, just like high-priced talent to put butts in seats. So somebody that people are going to want to come see. If you're not going to be a winner, if you're not going to go out there and try to win championships or try to make playoffs or whatever your goal is, you got to have some people on your roster that are going to bring people to the stadium. If you're not going to do that, if you're going to have a bunch of no-name guys that are going to win you 50, 60 games, you're going to end up with 3,000 people. You're going to end up with 30,000 empty seats in that brand new stadium. So I mean, like they're going to have to change something. And whether or not that's the Moneyball effect or not, I mean, you go back and look at Moneyball, there were some pretty big name guys on there just coming up, like a Miguel Tejada, Eric Chavez, who the hell is it? I want to say Mark Mulder, but I could be wrong. But there was quite a few guys that turned out to be superstars that got their start in Oakland. They became superstars in Oakland for probably 2 or 3 seasons before they moved on because they didn't want to pay them. And the guys like that you got to keep. If they don't do that, then they're gonna be in the same situation with a fancy stadium with no asses in their seats. Yeah, Pena, like they traded Pena to the Tigers. Yeah, I really like that movie. The one bummer about it is the Hollywood effect that took over in it. Like some of the stuff that was, well, I don't even know if it was Hollywood, or if it was the book that was written. How some of the stuff wasn't exactly true or spot on, because like you learn that if you watch the movie, Art Howe seems like a dickhead. He doesn't want any part of it. Doesn't support the GM and what he's trying to do. Doesn't want anything to do with it. Where in actuality, I've seen a bunch of Art Howe interviews where he said, he absolutely did support Billy Bean, with the Moneyball thing, and he wasn't skeptical. He understood everything about it, and he agreed with some moves and stuff like that, and he was behind it from day one. So it's kind of a bummer that you see some of the stuff like that. So then you watch a movie that's based on true events, and you have to wonder how much is actually true events, or what their definition of true events is. Is it true events because it's the people with the same damn names? Who knows? It's Hollywood. Yep. Johnny Damon, Jason Giambi, they shipped off. But they bought David Justice. Yeah, and it worked out for them that season. They made the playoffs. They had a 21 game win streak. I remember when that was going on. I remember watching that. Like, when are they going to lose again? It was game after game after game, and I kind of remember that game where they were beating the Royals pretty badly, and the Royals came back and took the lead, and then Scott Hatteberg was able to hit that home run, and I kind of remember that from just following that on SportsCenter and stuff like that. And the kid from Mount Carmel that Brother John was talking about earlier that signed with the Athletics is Tommy Reisinger. That's not a name that I remember, actually, to be honest with you. Was he just drafted? Was that through the draft, or was that like a minor league free agent or minor league trade type deal? If you know, go ahead and comment. Cowboy Dave Yarnell checking in. What's up, Cowboy Dave? You can check Cowboy Dave out Tuesdays with Sully on Extra Innings, Wednesdays on Dem 215 Boys talking Dallas Cowboys football, and then, of course, on Friday nights with me, the Bat Frie, on the Atomic Drop podcast talking WWE wrestling. Some wrestling. The showstopper in the house. All right, so we're going to move on from Kodai Senga. I want to give out his numbers here real quick. I'm kind of pissed off that I lost my notes on the pitching staff, because it's really going to make things a little bit difficult. New York Mets. There we go. So we'll move on from that to first half Mets hitting, and it's been really, really bad for the most part. Some of it's looked good, some of it's looked bad. It's been so up and down. It's been extremely frustrating. Like you look at Brandon Nimmo starting off so hot, so good. He was one of the best hitters in the league for probably for a good month and a half. Hitting over 300, which is not normal for him. Usually he's hitting the 270s, somewhere around there. If you look at his career, to falling back where he is now, he's now currently hitting 266. So I mean, it's been a struggle for Brandon, and Pete, his power numbers are kind of there with 26 home runs, 61 ribs, and but he's batting at where's Pete batting at? Let me see here. Alonso's batting average 211, and I think he's batting like 120 since June 1st or something like that. I heard Frank the Tank, our boy Frank the Tank from Barstool Sports, say before on one of his epic rants that Pete's hitting like 120, I think, since the beginning of June, which is is absolutely putrid. Basically the only hits he's getting, it seems like, are home runs, and those are only coming like once every like 3 or 4 games. So I mean, you're getting 3 or 4 games of nothing, and that's unacceptable. Is it partly because of the wrist injury? I don't know, but if it is, he shouldn't have been at the home run derby. That's my thought. He should have been at the All-Star game. He should have been resting it up. And he didn't do bad at the home run derby. 20, I don't know what it was, like 21 home runs or whatever it was. But I'll tell you that the pitch, the guy that was his pitcher was absolutely dicking him over. That was really, really bad. That was one of the worst home run derby pitching performances I think I ever seen. It was really bad. It looked like he was trying to strike Pete out. That's what it looked like. It looked like he was trying to strike Alonso out. And I said this last night on the Old School podcast that if that guy is actually the Mets batting practice coach, pitching coach, it makes a lot of sense now why the Mets aren't hitting anything, while they're hitting shit. But it's absolutely insane. One of the things that kind of stuck out to me, I was kind of looking back at the 2022 stats and the stats from this year so far, kind of comparing them. And, for the most part, most of our players, their walks are down and their strikeouts are way up. So you can kind of tell if you watch last year's team, especially the first half of the season, the one thing they did a lot of is they seen a lot of pitches. They go up to the plate, they'd see a lot of pitches. The starting pitcher would barely make it out of the fourth or fifth inning. And, before they'd be up to, 95, 100 pitches already. But this year they're up there just swinging away. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've seen Brandon Nimmo, go down on 3 pitches, which doesn't happen. Either he would, take a couple balls. He's up, like now he's up there free swinging, whereas last year he'd take a couple pitches, that'd be balls or, fouling balls off. And Jeff McNeil right now, he's, absolutely stinking the place up. Jeff McNeil's hitting 253. This is last year's NL batting champ. He led the whole league, all major league in batting average last year. He's hitting 253. That's not going to cut it. 253, 3 home runs, 26 RBI. He's not a big power hitter, but the 253 part is awful. He's not getting on base. He's up there, swinging first pitch almost every time, and when he does make contact, it seems like most of the time it's just a lazy pop fly. He's not spreading the ball around the field. He's not spraying it around. And that's one of the things I brought up before the season started with the rule changes. I said, that there's one guy that's really going to benefit from the rule changes, Jeff McNeil, because he's able to place the ball pretty much wherever he wants, and they can really stack one side or the other, but it hasn't mattered. And another guy I talked about with the rule change with the shift was Daniel Vogelback, and he's been absolute garbage as well, with a 225 batting average, striking out a good bit and, not walking as much as what, they'd like you to think he walks. That's the one thing they always say about Vogelback when he's up there is how great his eye is, and he takes a lot of walks. There's been so many times this year where he's watched 3 straight strikes without swinging the bat. And that's the most frustrating part of it all is when he goes up there and just stands there, looking for that pitch, and he doesn't get the pitch that he likes. It's 3 straight strikes and he's gone. It's like, dude, you got to swing at least once. You got to at least try to put the ball in play once. No, 3 strikes. It's 1, 2, 3. All right, it goes back and stands there and chews his bubble gum or whatever the hell he got in his mouth, cheeseburger. I don't know. That stuff absolutely baffles me. Give yourself a chance. I understand being fooled sometimes, but 3 straight pitches like that, and for it to happen so often, it's insane. Brother John said it was through the draft that Tommy Riesinger was picked up with the Oakland Athletics. That's cool. Another local kid going pro. Dave Yarnell. Alonso made a nice scoop at first base on a double play in last night's All-Star game. I didn't get a chance to see that. I was at work. But, I think Pete's first base defense has improved greatly. He's still not the best first baseman in the National League or in baseball. He never will be. He's a big dude. He wants to be out there every game. So you got to give credit where credit's due with that. He's a player. He's a baller. He wants to be out there. He does very, very well, I think, in his defense. Not a gold glover, not elite, nothing like that, but very, very serviceable. I like when they go out there, I don't have to worry. I don't worry about Pete at first base. Occasionally he makes a goofy error or something like that, but for the most part, I think he's solid there. So one guy that's been playing much, much better, and I've been turned around on Francisco Lindor, and partly because my boy Nelson from the Amish Country Mets fan, he's a big Lindor guy, and I said on a show a couple weeks ago, there was still the fan voting and stuff like that for the All-Stars, and Francisco Lindor moved on to the second round, I think it was, and I said I don't think he should be an All-Star. I said his batting average at that time was like I don't know, 218 or 220 or something like that, and I said he's had a crappy first half, and he kind of opened my eyes a little bit, compared to the other shortstops. His numbers aren't that bad, and his power numbers are way above everybody else. And looking through it, he was absolutely right. Francisco Lindor should absolutely have been an All-Star. Now, it could be a good thing that he wasn't. You go home and rest, and get ready for the second half. Spend some time with his family. Just had his wife just had a baby. So they have a new member in their family. So go home and enjoy that. But he's hitting much, much better. Hitting 239 right now. The 19 home runs, 60 RBIs, and that's one of the things I said about Francisco this year. Is that I did think his power numbers were going to be up. He was my dark horse MVP candidate for the season, and I thought he could hit close to 280 with 25 to 30 home runs and another season of 100 RBIs, and he's on his way with those power numbers. He absolutely on pace for 30 home runs and another 100 RBI season, which is fantastic. He's been very, very good driving in runs when runners have been on, and he's probably been our most consistent hitter, to be 100% honest with you. 239, he's been outstanding the last couple of weeks. Pretty much since like the last week of June through the first bit of July before the All-Star break, he's been very, very good. And the one thing that I really liked about Francisco Lindor recently is you kind of see him stepping up more on the field, kind of taking charge as a leader, which as your highest paid guy, that doesn't always work out. Sometimes the highest paid guy kind of just like separates himself and that's it. But it seems like he's kind of taking the team by its haunches and kind of leading it now. It seems like he's becoming the leader of the team, which is something the team absolutely needs. If they're going to turn things around, they need somebody to step up, be the leader. And I feel like Francisco Lindor is being that guy, because there's something absolutely not right with this team. I don't know what the hell it is. But it just doesn't seem like, they're in it. And I don't know what that means, but it's been really, really ugly. Adam Glenn has said Phillies closer got the save in the All-Star game. Was that Kimbrel? I think it is Kimbrel the Phillies closer now. Another douchebag. Craig Kimbrel with his goofy pitching stance. But so looking at other disappointing Mets, one big name that I said last week, I said on I think it was Friday when I was on Nelson's Amish Country Mets fan podcast, his Apple podcast. I said the one Met that really has disappointed me has been Starling Marte. He's been really, really bad, and it doesn't even seem like he gives a shit. He kind of like, if you watch that man in the outfield, I'm sure he's putting the effort out, but he goes so nonchalantly about it, and so like he doesn't care. It's just it's really irritating as shit. It really bothers the hell out of me, and I'm sure it bothers the hell out of a whole bunch of other Mets fans. It has to. I was watching Nelson's. I was listening to Nelson's Interstate Mets report last night. Nelson and Chris from CPNY Sports. Check them out. I think they do podcasts on Tuesdays, and I think Fridays, called Interstate Mets Report. So if you're into the Mets or just want to hear a little bit of baseball talk, check them out. They put together a pretty good show. But they're talking the same way now. It's just so frustrating watching him, kind of lackadaisically move around in the outfield. It's really frustrating, especially at the way the team is played. It just doesn't seem like he gives a shit. It doesn't seem like he's out there he's just kind of going through the motions. Whether or not that's a fact, I don't know. But you can't even count on him to be an everyday player. He's been playing a little bit better recently, but it's just not good enough. So he's hitting 256 with 5 home runs, 28 RBIs. And the 5 home runs is just not good enough. I was expecting more. I was expecting closer to 20 home runs from him this year. I thought maybe because he had a decent season last year. Home run wise, I think he had 16 home runs. He had 16. I think Nimmo had 16. And I think Canna had 16. They all kind of had about the same type of numbers. But it's just it hasn't been all that great. But stolen bases, 23 stolen bases, not too bad. That's the one thing that Nimmo I thought would get more. I thought Nimmo would steal more bases, but when he gets on, he doesn't steal base. I don't know what the deal with that is. Nimmo's at 3 stolen bases for Brandon Nimmo. Mr. Hustler and stuff like that. I thought for sure, he'd be pushing the 30 stolen base mark, by the end of the season. But no, it's not even close. He'll be lucky if he gets 10. Adam Glenn says, "Suck it, hater." I'm not a hater. I'm just having fun with you, Adam. And another disappointment, Mark Canna. Speaking of the devil, Mark Canna, just another guy just has struggled all season. Much like Starling Marte. I expect a little bit more out of him this season. Just not getting it. Some positives though. Tommy Pham has played fantastic. He's been probably our most consistent hitter since the middle of May, the end of May, somewhere around there. Very, very good. He did get injured in the last. I think it was the last game against the Padres, either the last game or second to last game. I think he pulled his groin or had a sore groin or something like that. So we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if he starts the second half on the IL or if he's resting it or what. We'll have to wait and see. But Tommy Pham hitting 277, 9 home runs. That's awesome. 34 RBI. Basically, he was a bench guy for the first month and a half. Almost 2 months of the season before he started lighting it up. And you know what? Kudos to Buck for starting to give him more. Most of the playing time. Buck's not usually that kind of manager. Usually if it's a bench guy, you're a bench guy. That's it. So great job by Tommy Pham. And Francisco Alvarez is just an absolute budding star. I feel like Francisco Alvarez is going to be a superstar in this league, a superstar catcher. His defense, I thought, has been fantastic. He's had a couple of hiccups here and there. Like you go back and all the Met haters will put up the little pop-ups behind the plate he's missed. I think I know of 2 off the top of my head. One he just plain old dropped, and the second one he and Max Scherzer bumped into each other, and the ball kind of just fell helplessly to the ground. And that's one guy you don't want to bump into when he's pitching is Max Scherzer. He seems like he can be a bit of a hothead or a dickhead or something. And that's not somebody I'd want to bump into and create an error. It seems like he might hold grudges. But offensively, Francisco Alvarez has been outstanding. Batting average 238, OPS of 809, 17 home runs. Huge power numbers from him. 35 RBI, in only 66 games. I mean, you compare that to Francisco Lindor has played in 90 games. Pretty much. I think it's been every game. That's every game that there has been so far. The Mets are, I think, 42 and 48. So, Lindor's played in every game. Then you look at Francisco Alvarez, he's played in, basically a third less. Something like that, yeah. And his power numbers have been awesome. And, he finished the first half off, really, really strong. and I expect him to start the second half really, really strong. More opportunity, more plate appearances. Brett Beatty, the other baby Met that the baby Mets. I like the kids, personally. Hitting 244, not bad for a rookie. The 5 home runs, 21 RBI. I thought Brett Beatty would have a little bit more pop than he does. And it's I think it's going to come around eventually. Hopefully in the second half it comes around. But I know in the minor leagues he showed that he had a big bat, a lot of pop. He's able to take the ball deep and hit for power, hit gaps and stuff like that. But he hasn't really done that consistently so far since he's been up with the big club. So I hopefully he turns that around in the second half and shows the power a little bit more. So that's what we got pretty much for our hitting. Pete, absolutely putrid. 211 batting average. His strikeouts are, I think, maybe a little bit ahead of pace than it was last year. Walks are down. The 26 home runs, good power numbers, 26 home runs, the 61 RBI. The 61 RBI is a little bit behind pace for what it was last season. The home runs, he should hit, in the 40s somewhere, which is, fantastic, power numbers, but you want to see him getting on base more, driving in more runs through doubles and stuff like that when guys are on base instead of striking out, and then relying on, McNeil, who will pop it up then, or Vogelback, who will watch 3 strikes. And then, we got to hope that, Francisco Alvarez in the 8th spot is able to knock somebody in. So the one thing that the Interstate Mets report did talk about was the lack of protection for Pete in the lineup. And I don't know how you go about getting it. Do you move Francisco Alvarez up? Is that scary enough to a team to, give Pete more pitches to hit? I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. Just, he needs to keep swinging. He'll come out of it, I think. He just needs to keep swinging and cut down on the strikeouts, put the ball in play more. I mean, it's easier said than done when you're struggling, but, that's the bare bones of it. Like I said, Brandon Nimmo hitting 266, 13 home runs, 41 RBI, an 807 OPS, which is the same as Pete Alonso. I think Tommy Pham leads the team in OPS, 836. Francisco Lindor's OPS, which is your on-base percentage and slugging percentage combined, which I think is a fantastic stat. I don't understand OPS plus, and I have no want to. I don't even know. Just looking at those numbers, it doesn't make any sense to me. Excuse me. So yeah. So we're going to move on from that. I'm going to go ahead and do a sponsor read before I move on to the pitching part of it. Monkey Colt Coffee. Check Monkey Colt Coffee out, monkeycoltcoffee.com. Check out their coffee flavors, the bourbon chocolate chip infused coffee. Fantastic. Last night I had a nice big cup of the toasted coconut rum to get me through the night. And if I had to stay up any longer after the podcast, I'd have another cup because it's a struggle. I need that little bit of kick in the pants that the coffee supplies. They also have swag at monkeycoltcoffee.com, some T-shirts, coffee cups, tumblers. I love the tumbler cup and the coffee cup. One of the things about Monkey Colt Coffee is that logo is just badass. It's a badass logo. I love the colors, the black and the red and stuff like that. So really neat. Looks sleek. They also have the cold brew pitcher for sale. Super easy to use, and a K-cup adapter for if you don't have a regular coffee pot and you have a K-cup machine, well, you can get their K-cup adapter, and that way you can use their coffee. So when you go to monkeycoltcoffee.com and you purchase their wares, purchase their rum cake that they also sell. Make sure you use the promo code at checkout, OOTB Sports, for 10% off. That promo code, again, is OOTB Sports at monkeycoltcoffee.com. And for every bag of coffee sold, they donate a portion of the proceeds to pediatric cancer research. Super important research, and then charities and stuff like that for pediatric cancer research. So even if you're not a big fan of coffee, buy a T-shirt or buy a mug or buy coffee for a relative. Everybody knows somebody that drinks coffee, so there's no real excuse there. Hell, Christmas isn't all that far off now. We're into July. Christmas is just a few months away. Start stocking up on your Monkey Colt Coffee Christmas gifts. And help out the pediatric cancer research and stuff like that. So now we're going to dive into the pitchers, the first half pitching stats. And like I said, I'm really irritated right now because I had the stats and I must have left them in another room. And I'm not going to get up and walk away and say, hold for a minute. That's not who I am. I'm just going to go on my cell phone here and work through it. My cellular telephone. You know what I miss? I miss the old rotary telephones. You used to stick your finger in the thing. A lot of you young kids out there aren't going to understand this. You stick your finger in the dial and you turn it like, if you had like an 8 or a 9, you got to take that, put your finger in there and take that sucker all the way around. Take your finger out. The 8 or a 6. It was fantastic. It was awesome. So that was a lot of fun. Whatever. Talk about rotary telephone if I want to. So like I said before, our most consistent pitcher has been Kodai Senga with an ERA of 3.31, 7.5 win-loss record, but he's been fantastic. His walks, like I said, early in the season, gave up a ton of walks. He leads our team in walks. He also leads the team in strikeouts. I feel like he's kind of gotten his control issues under control. And he's been doing much, much better with that. His last few outings absolutely deserved to be an all-star. And hopefully he carries that over to the second half of the season. And who knows, what he can make out of this the second half. Now he's not going to be a Cy Young candidate or anything like that. But he could turn this into a pretty special rookie season, and maybe even push for a rookie of the year, which I doubt. But you never know. At 30 years old, it's that's a pretty old rookie of the year. But Pitty, had to pitch in Japan for quite a few years, and they're really those contracts there. Like if they have your rights, they have your rights. There's no talking, working out trades or anything like that. You have to wait till that's up. Max Scherzer has been pitching better, but when you really need him, he just doesn't show up. It seems like I don't know what it is. That stems from last season. You look back at last season. Towards the end of the season, whenever there was a big game that Max would pitch in, he'd get lit up. You look back at the playoffs. First inning, I think it was the first inning. Looked pretty good. Second inning, all right. The third inning, they second time around through the batting order or whatever, they lit his ass up, and then he gets all pissed off and just starts throwing meatballs up there. So he's been very frustrating, and I think his days are numbered as a Met. 38 years old. It is what it is. The age thing. He has a 4.31 ERA, an 8-3 record. But like I said, he was probably. It seemed like he was turning a corner. He had like 3 or 4 starts in a row where he looked fantastic. Give up like 1 or 0 earned runs, something like that. And then, we needed a big game against the Padres there, and he got lit up. Justin Verlander, another one. He's been a bit of a roller coaster. If you look at his stats for the season, it's like every other game he's laying a meatball out there. You'll have one game he gives up 1 earned run, and the next one he gives up 5. And the next one he gives up 0 earned runs. The next one he gives up 4. It's been a struggle. He's been giving up a lot of home runs. I think that's been part of his issue, and it seems like it's early in the games. I could be wrong about that because a lot of his starts, he's been able to go 6-7 innings, 100 pitches. But, early in the game, he's, giving up like a 3-run blast in the first inning or something like that. And then, maybe in the 5th or 6th, gives up another run. Well, then you look at that stat line and it looks like garbage. Whereas, you know what? He just couldn't get out of the first inning without getting touched up a bit. If he's able to get through that first inning, he looks fantastic. But he's another guy, 40 years old, on the pitching staff. It doesn't look good. Cookie Carrasco has been pitching. I feel like he's been pitching better. Does that mean he's going to be our savior? No, absolutely not. Probably another trade piece. He has a 5.16 ERA, 3-3 record. David Peterson, since they brought him up, he's pitched okay. He had a couple starts where he pitched, pretty decent. Last start against I think he pitched against the Padres his last start and kind of got touched up a little bit. But like I said, give the Padres credit because they're in the same boat as the Mets, whereas they had huge high expectations, but they haven't done shit this year. They've struggled, but it seems like they're getting hot at the right time, and they're turning their season around. They're doing what we want to be doing right now. They're winning series. They're winning multiple games in a row. David Robertson has been fantastic for the Mets, but a pitcher up there in age, 38 years old. But he had I'm surprised he wasn't an all-star, but he has a 2.06 ERA. He has a 13 saves. So he's been pretty solid in that department. Adam Ottavino has been a disappointment, and another pitcher that's up there in age, 37 years old. There's a recurring theme with the Mets pitching staff. 37 years old. I didn't realize Ottavino was that old, to be honest with you. But he has a 3.72 ERA. And, last season he was phenomenal. He was fantastic. He and Seth Lugo. And when we re-signed Adam Ottavino, I was very excited because I was expecting the same Ottavino as last season because he was so steady and so clutch in so many big games. Going out there and getting an inning or two of solid relief out of him, getting guys out of situations and stuff. It's just not happening this year. Brooks Raleigh has been pretty good as a really good pickup for us this season. We picked him up from, I think it was Tampa Bay. And again, 35 years old. So he's on the back half of his playing career, but he has a 2.3 ERA. He has a save as well. Jeff Brigham has gotten lit up. I think we just sent him down last week. I think it was back down to the minors. Drew Smith has been he's been a struggle. A 4.3 ERA, record of 4-3. Just not very good. Dominic Leone, he's been getting hammered. Tommy Hunter, he was getting hammered for the few games that he was up. Grant Hartwig was one guy I wanted to touch on. I thought he's been very, very good. So far, he hasn't pitched. He's only pitched in 8 games, but he has a .79 ERA. 1-1 record. 25 years old. Now, that's a guy you kind of want to keep in your bullpen. Let him pitch the rest of the year. See what he has. See if he can be a guy that can help us out next season, instead of sending him back down or whatever. Once some guys that are actually on the injured reserve, on the injured list start coming back through, keep Hartwig where he's at. I like his stuff. He has a lot of live pitches, a lot of movement. So hopefully they keep him up. They don't send him back down at all. I was hoping they'd bring Joey Lucchesi back up. I know that's one of the guys that Adam Glenn really likes, Joey Lucchesi. I was hoping they'd bring him back up, and Jose Buto. Both those guys got a couple starts earlier in the season. So maybe they will. Maybe we'll hit the old trade deadline and be sellers, and have to get rid of a couple of our starting pitchers. Let them go, turn other teams' hairs gray, and shit the bed. And maybe Lucchesi or Jose Buto or both of them will get another opportunity to start a few games and see what they have. It's one of the things about being a seller. If the Mets do end up being a seller, is you can bring guys up that you're not sure about. You can bring a Lucchesi up. What's he going to be for us? Is he going to be a starter? Is he going to be a reliever? Is he going to be somebody that we can count on? If not, let's move on from him, or let's kind of move past him in the minor leagues and let him do his thing down there. And that's pretty much it. Bring him up for a spot start occasionally or whatever. But it's important to see to kind of evaluate your talent around that time. We also have Jose Quintana, who's another pitcher that's up there in age that we haven't seen yet this season as a starter. And he's not going to be our savior. He's not going to come in and be our white knight or anything like that. But it's going to be nice to see what he's capable of. He's supposed to start the second half on the roster, I believe. For last I heard, he had a couple rehab starts, and he should be ready to go, and finally make his Mets debut. So we'll see what we get out of him, what happens with him. That'll be interesting. I'm interested to see what Jose Quintana can do. He had a fairly decent season with the Cardinals last year, and let's see if he can maybe start something for the Mets. Maybe a little wisdom or something. I don't know. I don't know what the hell he can do that kind of kickstart us, but we need anything will help. So the Mets first half pitching has been has had its moments. There's some bright spots, like I said, with Senga and stuff like that, and Brooks Raleigh and Grant Hartwig. I thought has been a nice surprise. Limited amount of games, 8 games. It's not a big sample size, but from what little bit he has pitched, I thought he's looked very, very good. But there's been a lot of down spots. The bullpen has been an absolute struggle. Anytime that one of our starters goes out with a lead, in the 5th or 6th inning, one of the big issues is that our starters have been walking so many guys, allowing so many runners on bases that they're not getting past the 5th inning, and that's really stretching our bullpen thin. So when our starter might leave, with a 3-1 or 4-1 lead in the 5th inning, well, by the time we get to the 8th or 9th inning, it's 7-4. We're losing. It's our bullpen has just given up a ton of leads, and you'll be able to go back, at the end of the season, and say, oh, here's a game here we should have taken. Here's the game here we lost late. Here's the game here we lost late. You could do that with pretty much any team, any season, but with the Mets this year, I feel like that's just been a huge eyesore. It's just the game's given up late. But when your bullpen's not going good, that's what happens. Excuse me. All right, we're going to move on from that. Before I move on to the next topic, I'm going to go ahead and do another sponsor read. There's our boy Jay Feinlaw. There he is. Jason Fine, attorney Big Al. You can reach Big Al at 1-800-HURT-123. That's 1-800-HURT-123. Jay Feinlaw specializes in motor vehicle accidents and slip and fall, workman's comp, personal injury claims. You can call Jason directly 24/7 at 267-962-4895, or you can also contact Maiko Spencer at 267-303-7324 for a free consultation. They now have 3 offices throughout Pennsylvania and New Jersey. Their offices in Pennsylvania are Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the Steel City of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And that office is located at 500 Grant Street, Suite 2900 in Pittsburgh, PA. The number there is 412-365-8255. 8151. And their other office in the great state of Pennsylvania is in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And it's located at 1628 JFK Boulevard, Suite 2120. And the number there is 267-888-2980. And last but not least, the office in the Garden State of New Jersey, located at Cherry Hill, New Jersey, 3 Greensward Lane, Cherry Hill. And the number there is 856-209-5258. Make sure you tell Big Al that the Bat Frie sent you from the Bat Cave. We got a comment here. It's been a while. We have Felix Ortiz of hashtag the company. Hey, what's up, Felix? Thanks for checking out the show. Thanks for commenting. I appreciate it very much. And now we're going to move on to who do I think they should trade no matter what? If their bets are going to be buyers or sellers, who do I think they should trade no matter what? I do think they should trade Max Scherzer no matter what. That's one guy. I think he's run his course in New York. I understand the contract part of it. It's a lot for somebody to eat, whether it be another team or the Mets. But I think it'd be worth it. If you could find the right buyer, for Max Scherzer, or you're going to get a decent prospect haul or a decent young player haul, because it's going to have to be multiple. It can't be a player for player straight up kind of deal. Excuse me. But if you can get a decent prospect or a decent young player haul, I think it'd be worth Steve Cohen, who has the money to do it, to eat that contract, to work something out, to do a Bobby Bonilla deal maybe, to kind of stretch that shit out for a long time, for 30 years, 40 years. And I think it'd be worth it, to be 100% honest with you. I think it'd be worth eating that contract if you can get a good haul for Max Scherzer, which I do think Max Scherzer can go to a team and help them out. I do think he could be a very good pitcher and for another team. I think he's run his course in New York. I don't think he has any interest in staying in New York anymore. I think he wants out, to be 100% honest with you. I know he's there with his boy, Justin Verlander, they're boys from way back to their Detroit days and stuff like that. But I think Max Scherzer should absolutely go no matter what. If the Mets are buyers or sellers, if the Mets are going on a terrific run and, within striking distance of the wild card, which, striking distance to me is like 4 games. If they're within striking distance of the wild card before the trade deadline, I think you still trade Max Scherzer. See if you can get a player, that could help you right away, and maybe some prospects that, there's no such thing as a can't miss prospect, to be 100% honest with you. But if they have whoever you trade them to, if they have a can't miss prospect that they're willing to give up for Max Scherzer to go on a run, try to grab one of those guys as well. So I think Max Scherzer's a guy that should be gone. I think Cookie Carrasco, I think that's a guy, no matter what, the Mets should look to trade. Now, you're not going to get a great haul for him. He has pitched better, and he is capable of pitching good. We've seen it last season where, I'd say 75% of the season he pitched very well. For like a 4-starter, I think he was our 4-starter last year. He pitched very well like a 4-starter. He pitched decent. He had double-digit wins, ERA in the mid to high 3s, which is what you look for out of your the kind of type of production you look for out of a 4 or 5 starter. So there is a team out there that could use Cookie Carrasco, either as a end of the rotation starter or even as a long relief kind of guy. So I think that's somebody that we should look to get rid of to help build up the farm system a little bit. Everyday player wise, I think we should get rid of Mark Canha no matter what. That's a guy that I think I like Mark Canha. I think he's it seems like a stand-up dude. 34 years old, a little bit long in the tooth. The same thing with Starling Marte. I think one of those two guys, Starling Marte or Mark Canha, I think they need to get rid of one of those guys no matter what, whether they're in contention or not. If they're buyers or sellers, see what you can get for them. If you lose one of those guys, I don't think it affects your ball club. If you're pushing for the wild card, if you're in striking distance, if you get rid of one of those guys, I don't think that hurts your ball club enough where you can look back on and say, oh, it's because we got rid of Marte is why we fell another 12 games back. I don't think so. I don't think it hurts your ball club as much as it might have last season when those guys were producing much at a better clip. Felix says, can I recommend changes to fix the season? Please, absolutely. Please do, Felix. If you have some ideas, shoot them out there. Let me know what you think. Let Mets Nation know what you think. So Tommy Pham is an interesting one because he's played so well for us recently. But I think you might be able to get something better on the market, a better haul for Tommy Pham right now than you would somebody like Starling Marte or Mark Canha. So I'm not saying you should trade Tommy Pham if the Mets are in contention still. But if somebody comes knocking at, you know what? If it's something that you think, that it's the best we can get for Tommy Pham, maybe you pull the trigger on that one. Even if they are the within striking distance. Felix says, should the Mets move to a 4-man rotation? Felix, I don't think so. Just because you look at the age of their starters. Like I've mentioned earlier, with Scherzer being, 38, Verlander being 40, Kodai Senga, his first season in the major leagues, still getting used to this type of rotation, whereas in Japan, he pitched once every 7 days. Whereas here, for him, it might be one every 5 days, which, that could lead to some fatigue for him, something he's not quite used to yet. When Jose Quintana comes back, he's another pitcher that's, late 30s. So I don't think a 4-man rotation is the way to go until it's crunch time. Again, if you're at the end of the season, you're 2 games back, 1 game back of the wild card, you're trying to get into the playoffs. The last 2 weeks of the season, I say you push your best players as much as you can. If that means going to a 4-man rotation, using your 4 best pitchers over and over and over again in those last 2 weeks to try to catch that team ahead of you, then absolutely. But I think right now it's too early to do something like that. And I do know before the season started, I did talk about the Mets possibly doing a 6-man rotation because of Kodai Senga, but then there's been a lot of injuries that kind of put the kibosh to that. And with Quintana going out, Verlander spent the beginning of the season on the IL. Scherzer was on the IL, so McGill's struggles. Peterson struggles, Carrasco struggles. So I don't think a 4-man rotation is the way to go right now. But like I said, if you get to the end of the season, the last week or 2, maybe even 3, if you think you can get away with a 4-man rotation, throwing out your best 4 guys over and over and over again, I think that would be not a bad idea. Should the Mets acquire Trevor Bauer? You know what? It's funny you say that. I thought about that last night. I was watching a clip of him freaking out in Japan over a mistake by his catcher, pretty much by his catcher. There's a couple other guys that are kind of lost a little bit as well, but he's just absolutely screaming and flipping out and talking to himself. The one thing about Trevor Bauer, he is a really good pitcher. I believe. He's he's very quirky. But you have to worry, is he going to be a a negative impact on your locker room. I don't know what's going on with the Mets locker room right now. I feel like the Mets locker room was in shambles to begin with. So adding somebody like Trevor Bauer, could it really actually hurt that much? I'm not sure, but I think the price tag that would come with Trevor Bauer as well. Now with all of his legal issues, I don't even know that the price tag would be even that high for somebody like Trevor Bauer. For this season, I would say no. But I think if next season, if they wanted to kick the tires on Trevor Bauer, I wouldn't be upset. Like I said, he has a whole lot of baggage that comes with him. But it might be worth to check out. Pop the hood, see what he got going on there, and see if that's somebody that can help, or is he just gonna be the same Trevor Bauer that's really odd and kind of distances himself from his teammates, or goes ballistic on the mound because he gets pulled out. You remember a couple of years ago, I can't remember who he was pitching for. I feel like it was the Indians, but I could be wrong. He got pulled out of the game, and he turned around and chucked the ball 380 feet over the center field fence. I mean, which is an impressive toss, but I mean, do you really need that guy out there acting like that? I don't know. If he's going to go out there and he's going to have an 18-9 season with a 2.7 ERA, I'll deal with that. I would take that any day of the week. If he's going to kick and scream like a baby, I'm cool with that. If he's going to pitch like that, you do what you got to do. Should the Mets play all the baby Mets? Alvarez, Beatty, Vientos, and Mauricio. Beatty and Alvarez, absolutely. Especially Alvarez. I think Alvarez is going to be a star. Beatty, I'm not sure yet. I feel like he could be a very good player. I don't know if he's going to be a superstar. I think Alvarez is going to be a superstar. Vientos, I still feel like the Mets are going to trade Vientos. For some reason, I just feel like whether it's going to be before the trade deadline or in the offseason, I just don't feel like he's I don't feel like he's going to be in the Mets uniform next season. It's just like a gut feeling I have. Ronnie Mauricio, I think they should bring him up sometime before the end of the season. Whether or not the Mets are in contention or not shouldn't matter. That's one guy that they should absolutely bring up. See what they have in him. See how he has progressed. And I'll tell you, the one thing I think is going to be interesting come trade deadline is what the Mets do with Jeff McNeil. I've been hearing a lot of clamoring on the Twitter box. Mets fans looking for the Mets, possibly to entertain offers about for Jeff McNeil. And to be 100%, I love Jeff McNeil. I think he's a good player. He's a good defensive player. He's had a bunch of weird lapses this year. Offensively, he's struggling this year. But if you look at his career year by year, you'd have a year where he hits really well. He hits well for average. Then the next season he doesn't. Then the next year he does, and the next year he doesn't. So does that mean next year he's going to hit 360? I don't know, but I think if you can get something decent for Jeff McNeil, go ahead and do it. Because the Mets, they just signed him this year. I feel like it was a 5-year deal, 4 or 5 year deal as well, or maybe it's less than that. And I think they extended him out 3 years. I don't know. It doesn't matter what it was, but it wasn't a crazy contract where a team would look at it like, oh, that money's too much. It was actually, I think, kind of a team-friendly type of contract. So if they trade McNeil away, that opens up second base, and that's kind of Ronnie Mauricio is a shortstop, but he was learning second base. Now they have him learning the outfield as well. But I think he'd be more suited, more comfortable, probably as a middle infielder, especially with his experience at shortstop. Because Lindor's not going to go anywhere. Lindor's our franchise right now. He's the face of our franchise, and as well as he should be. And so I think if the Mets trade away Jeff McNeil, I think the next day they should call up Ronnie Mauricio, have him play second base. So I absolutely think they should bring up Mauricio. I've said this before. He reminds me a lot of like an Alfonso Soriano. I could be way off on that comparison. But I feel like the way he looks, the way he hits, the way he plays, it just reminds me so much of the New York Yankees when Alfonso Soriano was a young player first coming up with the Yankees. So yeah, I do that. I think they should play the baby Mets, regardless if the Mets are pushing for that wild card or not. I think they should still play him because I feel like they're probably some of their best players in their organization anyway. That includes the guys that are active on the major league roster. Should the Mets trade Alonso for a stud rookie or Ian Happ? I don't think they trade Alonso. I don't think they should trade Alonso. I'm an Alonso fan, but he's it's so hard with Pete. He's not old yet. He's 20. I think he's 27, 28 years old. He's a huge. He's our only big bat. As I say that, I talked earlier about how Francisco Lindor has done a hell of a job this year, power wise and production wise with RBIs and home runs and stuff like that. But I think Pete could be in the same category with Francisco as the face of the franchise. But if man, it's just one of those things. If you're able to get a couple stud rookies, now I don't think Ian Happ. I say no to trading Pete for Ian Happ. I just don't see it. But if you're able to get a couple stud guys, in the system, in the farm system, it's hard to say no to. It really is. And like I said, I love Pete Alonso. I like him. I like his intensity. Back in May when he was pounding on rails and humping posts and stuff like that, he was having fun, and that just went away like that. So I don't know what happened. I feel like I still feel like there's a rift between the coaching staff and the players. I could be off on that, but something's not connecting. It seemed like nobody's having fun. I mean, losing's not fun. They lost a lot in June, but it's been so bad. But if somebody calls, they want Pete, and they're offering a huge haul. I mean, I don't want to say you have to take it, but you have to really entertain it. You have to think about it. You have to mull it over because pretty much everybody is on the block. So Jeff McNeil shoots a first round 78 at New York State Open. Does golf hurt batters' swing? Should the Mets ban golfing during the season? I don't know. I don't think it hurts. I'm not much of a golfer, to be honest with you. I have golfed before, but the worst round I ever had was 175 shots. And yeah, that's right, 175 shots. And I was going to hit my ball no matter what. I didn't care where it went. I'm terrible off the drive. I'm terrible chipping. I'm terrible putting. And 175 tells you that. I think my best round actually was 123, which I thought was awesome. I even got par on one hole. I'll take that any day of the week. But I don't think it's – baseball players have been golfing forever. So I don't think that messes up their swings. Sometimes I just think they get too much into their own heads with their swings. Something changes a little bit. They're not doing like for Jeff, for instance – he has that huge choke up on the bat and stuff like that. And, last year, all those hits that he was getting, were hits that aren't typically hits. A lot of those infield hits are like little bloop, that drop behind shortstop. That doesn't happen that often. Or like a little like slow roller to third base or a high chopper to shortstop. They're not your typical base hits. So those are hits that you can't count on every season. And I think he's fallen into that a little bit. That wouldn't explain the huge drop-off in average. But I don't think golf I don't think golf alters your swing all that much. Now, I know that's what a lot of guys say about the home run derby. A lot of the power hitters won't do the home run derby because they're worried about altering their swings. And I think you've seen that in the past with players, thinking in some Mets like Edgardo Alfonso. I believe he was in the one home run derby, and then after that, he barely hit any home runs in the second half. David Wright, I felt like after he was in the home run derby, kind of struggled in the second half. Pete Alonso, I'd say, it hasn't seemed to hurt him yet. So hopefully he comes out and has a big second half, a better second half, where he's actually putting the ball in play and hitting for extra bases and as well home runs. Would you extend David Robertson's contract for one more year? Yeah. If he's still on the roster at the end of the season, I'd absolutely reach out to him, extend it for another season. With Diaz coming off the injury that he had, I mean, I've seen videos of him working out. There's no guarantee that he's going to be the same Edwin Diaz that he was last season. So to have that insurance policy there with David Robertson, I know he's up there in age, but he's pitched so well. I think it wouldn't hurt to keep him around for another year. I think it'd be super affordable as well. So if he's still here, if he's still with the Mets at the end of the season, I think they should extend him one more season. I assume the Mets are completely done. No chance to reach the playoffs. Should closer Diaz return early from his knee surgery this season and wait for next season? He should wait for next season. I'm absolutely 100% against him returning this season, even if the Mets are in contention. I'm 100% against him coming back this season. It's something you got to take your time with. You can't push it. You're coming back from a major surgery, a torn patella tendon and stuff like that. It's not like he had a wisdom tooth taken out. That's a major surgery, and it has a lot to do with his legs. And for pitchers, whether it's your landing leg or your push leg, your legs are huge in the pitching game. And for him to come back too early could really set him back the following season. So I'd rather him, continue what he's doing. Push himself like he's gonna get back this season. But then, just shut it down for a little bit and then start back up over the winter time and continue to build that leg strength up to be back for next season. So even if the Mets are in contention, I don't think he should come back this season. I think the Mets should say absolutely not, and just let him, just hold him off until next season. I mean, it stinks because we put a lot of money into him, and he was absolutely electric last season, but it's not worth the risk is not worth the reward, in my opinion. Man, thanks for the comments, Felix, and the questions that were fantastic. Another one. Are you tired of all the Ohtani rumors? No, not really. You expect them, and especially with the type of owner that we have that's willing to spend. They're not going to go away anytime soon. But any big market team where you're going to have those rumors with Ohtani right now, I don't think the Angels are going to trade him at the trade deadline. If I'm the Angel, it's hard because if you let him go to free agency, you don't get anything in return for him. If you trade him before the trade deadline, what does that do to your season? Because they're still within striking distance of the wild card and of the division. I'm not sure how far back they are now, but they're there. Excuse me. And so if they trade him and they get a haul for him, but none of those guys are ready to contribute yet, that's basically closing the door on the season. So what happens to your attendance? What happens to all that? But if you let him go away through free agency, and you just don't get anything for him. That's also a big loss for the Angels as well. So it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't type of scenario for the Angels. So I assume they're going to try to re-sign him. I don't know if he wants to go back, if they offer him the type of money that he might be looking for, if he would accept it or not. I've also heard rumors of the LA Dodgers, the San Francisco Giants, the Mets, of course. I haven't really heard a whole lot about the Yankees, but I think the Yankees last year, there were some rumors the Yankees might make a run at him. So any big market team with a huge payroll could look to sign Ohtani. And the thing is, if the Mets sign Ohtani, does that mean that Pete's gone? That it very well could be that, because Pete's going to demand big money as well. And you're not going to be able to have all those big contracts. I don't care how much money Steve Cohen has, because Ohtani's going to want a lot of money, as well as he should. He's fantastic. He's going to the Dodgers. You know what, Adam, and I kind of agree with you. As much as I don't want to see that, I also think he's going to go to the Dodgers. Do you think he's going to go there free agent, or do you think he's going to go there through trade? And Felix, you as well. What do you think? Do you think Ohtani's going to be traded, or do you think he's going to go somewhere through free agency? And where do you think he's going to go, Felix? It's going to be actually, if he does go, if he doesn't get traded, I think it's going to be a lot of fun in the offseason to see where he goes, see the type of money that's going to be tossed his way. It's going to be really, really interesting. Felix says, I would move Pete Alonso. He's the next Chris Davis. He could be. He could be, which is not a good thing. I think Pete has shown more consistency so far in his career than what Chris Davis has. You look at Pete's career since he was called up, I think it was 2019, when he won Rookie of the Year and stuff. His power numbers haven't declined. His RBI production has stayed solid. His batting average until this year, so far this year, has been fairly consistent as well. You're looking at a 250 to 260 type hitter, and that's where most of your big power hitters usually are. They strike out a high amount, they hit in the 250s, 260s, and they hit a lot of home runs and create a lot of RBIs. So, but I mean, if the Mets go after Ohtani, I think Pete is gone. Felix also says Ohtani going to the Yankees. It wouldn't surprise me, Ohtani to the Yankees, but like I said, you haven't heard a whole lot from the Yankees since last season about it, which tells me that they're kind of lurking. Trade Pete to the Phillies. So like trade Pete for Rhys Hoskins. Is that what you're saying? I don't know. Rhys, he's a decent power hitter, coming off an ACL surgery. I don't know. Pete for Schwarber. I can't stand Kyle Schwarber, to be 100% honest with you. Yeah, I feel like Kyle Schwarber gets a huge pass in Philly for some reason. Excuse me. The dude's only hitting like 180, like 190. And, you never hear anything. Philly fans are known for being ruthless. I never hear a Philly fan complain about Kyle Schwarber. All I hear is Schwarbomb. That's all you hear from Philly fans about Kyle Schwarber. I never hear a Philly fan, get on him about not hitting. It's insane in my opinion. Maybe I just don't watch enough Phillies baseball, but it's just insane. So Adam says yes for Rhys Hoskins and Pete Alonso trade. I think it'd have to be Rhys Hoskins and a couple prospects, in my opinion. So I think Pete overall is a better player than Rhys. So I'd want the Mets to win that trade, and I think in order to win that trade, it'd be Rhys Hoskins and a couple players, a couple minor league players, maybe like a top 15 type prospect. It doesn't have to be top 5 or 10, but a top 15 type guy, pitcher. So starting to lose my voice here. All right, so we kind of talked about this already, this topic, Jeff McNeil and Pete Alonso off the table when it comes to trade talks. I think Jeff McNeil is absolutely on the table for trade talks. I would not be shocked at all if Jeff McNeil was traded. I wouldn't be surprised. Pete, it would surprise me if Pete was traded, especially they have control of his contract until I think 2025. So it would surprise me a little bit, unless it was some sort of Ohtani type thing. If they traded Pete to the Angels and some, Pete, Mark Vientos, and another prospect a little bit deeper into the system, not a Kevin Parada or a Jet Williams, nobody like that, but somebody else that I don't know their name. So. But I mean that could be something that could be floated out there, and that could be something that the Angels might consider, because Pete Alonso, again, in my opinion, is one of the league's best power hitters, and I feel like he's been fairly consistent his whole career until this year with his average, but his power numbers have been consistent every season since he's been up. And, he's not a pitcher, though, so, it would have to be a power hitter and a pitcher that the Angels would need for Ohtani. I don't know. I'd be interested to see what the Angels would want for Ohtani. To be 100% honest with you, if they'd want something like that, like a top flight power hitter and a top flight type pitcher, because that's what Ohtani is. Ohtani is a top flight power hitter and a top flight pitcher, which is absolutely insane. A modern. You hear it say over and over again about him, but he's a modern day Babe Ruth. Technically probably bigger than Babe Ruth right now. Looking at the pitching part of it anyway. So that's all I have for today. Go over a couple shows here for you to check out. Last night was the debut of the Old School Show. Joe Sullivan's Old School Show. I was on with him talking about the 1980s, particularly the 86 Mets. How that team was built and what happened after the 86 season. I had a fantastic time with Joe. We had a lot of fun. I thought it was a good show. And so make sure you check out future episodes of the Old School Show. They're going to talk 93 Phillies, 90s the 1990s Dallas Cowboys. Particularly, I think they're going to talk more about the Cowboys 49ers rivalry from the 90s, which was a lot of fun. I remember watching a lot of those games, Troy Aikman versus Steve Young and, Emmitt Smith, Deion Sanders playing for both teams, and then that rivalry. So they're going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you check out Old School. I'm not sure when the next episode's going to be, but the next episode I'm pretty sure is going to be on the 1993 Phillies, which is a fantastic season for the Phils. And then also check out Fuji's Philly Flair. I think this Saturday's episode is actually at 7 p.m. instead of 11 a.m. But Fuji's Philly Flair is not just only sports talk, but also entertainment in Philadelphia. So that's pretty cool. And, of course, my newest show, the Atomic Drop Podcast, on Fridays at 10:30 p.m., talking WWE wrestling, old school, and also current product. We do Raw recap, SmackDown reaction. We'll do a little bit of old school talk. We'll talk about the pay-per-view that's up next. The first couple episodes have been well over 2 hours long, which I think is fantastic. I could go on all day. Especially when there's somebody else on the show with me. It's myself and Cowboy Dave Yarnell, and we just continue talking. It's like it's like talking to a friend. You know what I mean? It just goes and goes and goes, and you have people commenting and checking in and asking questions and putting out their opinions. It makes the show flow so much nicer. And before you know it, like I said, you're there 2 hours. Like, holy crap, we're here 2 hours already. And I think that's fantastic. So make sure you check all those shows out, the new shows, and make sure you check out, subscribe to the Out of the Box Sports YouTube channel. Also, subscribe if you'd like. I'd appreciate it, to the Batcave YouTube channel. It's much appreciated, but definitely subscribe to the Out of the Box Sports YouTube channel. We got a couple more comments here before I duck out of here and go to bed. Felix says, thanks. Great show. Thank you, Felix. Hey, Felix, I appreciate you checking it out. Very much appreciated. Check it out again next Wednesday at 10 a.m. I'll be here. As well as other shows. With Out of the Box Sports have so many different shows. I'm not sure what teams you do follow, but we have something for everybody. And even if you're interested in doing a podcast, reach out to myself or Maiko Spencer, and we could talk it over. Adam Glenn, where are your rankings? So, Adam, I was doing rankings, my power rankings every other week. I did them last week. So now we're going to the second half of the season. I'll probably do them every week starting next week. So I was only doing them every other week in the first half of the season because it's so early. It's hard to tell who's going to be really good, who's not going to be good. I think we have a pretty good idea as to what teams are the real deal and what teams are not. So I think starting next week, I'll go to every week power rankings, which is what I did last season, because I think that warrants it. Then I feel like the second half of the season is balls to the wall. You know who's good, who's not good, who's going to be pushing what. And so you'll have to go back and watch last week's episode. I did the power rankings at the end of the episode. I had the Braves 1 and the Rays 2. I think I had the Orioles. No, who did I have 3? Did I have the Rangers 3? Orioles 4. I can't remember. I remember 1-2 with the Braves and Rays. Or was it? Yeah. The Braves, Rays, and I think it was the Orioles, maybe 3rd. Then Rangers 4th. You'll have to go back and watch it. Check it out. Adam says the wrestling show is awesome. Thank you, Adam. I appreciate that very much. I'm glad you check all of our shows out on Out of Box Sports. Everybody appreciates it very much. Out of the Box Sports number 1 fan. Number 1, 1A and 1B. 1B is Eileen. I should say 1A and 1A1. That's what I should say. 1A and 1B doesn't seem to fit right. 1A and 1A1. Adam and Eileen, number 1 fans. Absolutely, guys. You guys are fantastic. Checking to every show, which is awesome. Always commenting. You guys rock. All right, so that's all I got for today. Thanks for checking the show out. Check me out. I should be on this Friday. It's my work weekend. So I won't know if I have to work until Thursday night. So I'll be able to put it out there Friday if I'm going to be on, but the wrestling show will go on no matter what, with or without me. It'll be Cowboy Dave and Maiko, Spencer if I have to work. If not, I will be on with Cowboy Dave, and we will kick ass and take names. All right, so that's all I got. Thanks for checking the show out. Thanks for commenting. Make sure you like, follow, subscribe to all the Out of the Box Sports media platforms, and also the Bat Cave. I have Twitter, the YouTube channel, and Out of the Box Sports is on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, the TikTok. So we're everywhere. So make sure you check us out, and check me out. Same bat time, same bat channel. Let's go Mets.